Hello and welcome to another episode of Moose's Gear Goo Review. I'm Moose, and today we have another knife review. This one's another classic. Ooh, that's smooth. Let me do that again. This is the Ontario Rat 1. The Ontario Rat 1. So let me get into some specs here, and then we'll get into the blade. The overall length is 8.62 inches, 8.62 inches. The blade length is 3.62 inches. The blade thickness is 0.11. The overall handle length is 5 inches. The handle thickness is 0.51 inches. And the weight on the knife is 4.95 ounces. So it is a little bit heavy, which is okay, I guess. So that being said, awesome knife. This is considered a fan favorite amongst many knife collectors. It's considered just a classic Hall of Famer for most people. And it's by far one of Ontario knife companies' flagship knives. They sell tons of these. It's incredibly economical and affordable, and the design is super efficient and very handy. So that being said, let's talk about the blade. Now the blade is really interesting because there's a couple of unique geometrical angles that are happening here. It almost seems like a straight spine, but it does drop off a little bit, so it angles down. I don't know if you could necessarily call it a drop point, but I'll call it a drop point. We have a plain edge blade that sweeps up with some nice belly towards the tip. It is a full flat ground blade. There is no serrations, so it's a plain edge. And then there is some jimping up at the top to give your thumb a sure grip. Now, the cool thing is that angle right at the base of the blade, where from the pivot, it actually angles up, and then it flattens out. And I don't know why that's so unique. I think it's a brilliant design feature because it creates a thumb ramp without raising any part of the blade above the normal spine, which is cool. And then it also pulls the blade back a little from the base, from the bottom of the handle. It gives it a really nice feel, and I don't know, it's just really unique, and it's part of the fun of this blade. On the blade itself, we have some labeling that says Ontario Knife Company. Rat is the model, or Rat Knives, and Rat actually stands for Randall's Adventure Training, which is like a survival wilderness training that this knife was more or less designed from. It is made in Taiwan. There are dual thumb studs, and like I said, there's jimping on the top thumb ramp. Going into the handle, we have a plain black handle. It's made, the handle material itself is just a plastic, I call it GFN. I don't know if it's a true GFN or what, but it has a little bit of a fabric texture to it, so it looks like a G10, but it's just a GFN or glass-filled nylon. The handle design is really nice. It has a kind of a choil slash finger guard there, and a slight palm swell, and it curves down. Feels really good in the hand. It's a longer handle, so you have a full purchase, especially if you have a large hand like I do. It is a fully flow-through construction. We got 5 pillars here. The one acts as a stop pin. We have the pivot pin. All the hardware on the outside is black to match the handle color. And on the back, we have a very decent black painted pocket clip that is 4-way positionable, which is a really nice feature. Good for lefties. So it's tip up, tip down, left or right hand carry. It is a liner lock, and because of that top choil, it actually is very easy to access that liner to open it. Now, one of the biggest things I've heard of this blade from other reviewers and people who've used it is that they love how smooth it is to open. If you check, and I don't know if the light will pick it up, but you can see that there are like high quality like bronze phosphorus washers in there, and that just makes this thing just fly out. This is a used knife. It's been passed around between some of my friends for quite a while, heavily used, and it still just flies out with minimal effort. Back to the blade. The blade is made out of an AUS 8 steel, and other than that, the only downside to this knife I would say is one is the steel. Now, AUS 8 is, you know, a budget steel. It's good, similar to an 8CR13, but there are plenty of other better steels out there. And recently, at the time of this video, they just started making the Model Rat 1 in D2 blade steel, which is a much tougher steel, holds an edge like you wouldn't believe. So they've definitely upgraded that now. The only downside to D2 is that it does rust. So that being said, you know, you kind of got to pick your poison. Go for the more stainless variation, or go with the upgraded blade steel that will hold an edge way longer and hold up way more. The only other downside, or the downside that I already mentioned, was the weight. As you can see, the liners are not milled out. So it is a heavier knife. I think eventually they'll come to milling it out with some of the other variations that'll come in the future. But if they milled out some of this, reduce the weight, and get it under around 4 ounces, this thing would just be awesome. And it still is awesome. I mean, once you get it in hand, you just fall in love with it. So that being said, let's compare it to some other knives. We have my personal favorite, the Byrd Raven 2. We have a Spyderco Stretch, which is pretty interesting. We have the the Cold Steel Finwolf, which is really awesome for you bushcrafters. And then we have the H&K Access. So now, looking at the lines here, I lined up all the tops of the handles up here. As you can see, the Rat is actually tied as far as length with the H&K Access. And then handle-wise, the Rat also has the longest handle. Longer than H&K Access. So that being said, if you have a larger hand and you need something that you really want to get a grip on, you might consider going for the Rat, just because you know you have a full-length handle. Otherwise, they're all pretty similar. The other knives are just, you know, a 1/4 of an inch shorter than the Rat, and handle-wise, they're about a 1/4 of an inch shorter as well. So the only other comparison is comparing the thickness of the blade. And as you can see, it looks about the same for the Stretch. Oh, close that. We'll go Finwolf. Finwolf looks just a hair thicker. H&K Access. The Access is thicker. And then, of course, the the Byrd Raven 2 is much thicker. And surprisingly, it's lighter. You know, it's crazy because they milled out the holes. And yeah, but either way, this is still an awesome knife. Now, it's a great starter knife, and it's a good knife for the price. Just the way it's used, it's a great utility knife. And the price on a basic Model 1, Rat 1, is, at the time of this video, was about $30. So $30 for a large folding knife that is going to hold up is awesome. And even then, I saw that the D2 variation of it, which is the upgraded steel, is about $40. Anywhere from $40 to $50. So an extra, you know, 10 to 20 bucks, and you get an even better steel. You can't beat that deal. So the last test I have is the ugly brown glove test, which is one of my favorites. This is just a way to see if the handle material is grippy in a bulky cloth glove, and as you can see, I got my ugly brown glove back, as well as deploying and closing the knife. So as you can see, opens excellent with those thumb studs. Even if I'm not trying to flick it, I still have a good enough grip with my thumb. That cutout for the liner lock works more than good enough for that, and just pops it open. Grip. The textured material is a little slippery, but once I lock my index finger into that choil and my thumb on the jimping there, it's solid. It's a really good grip, hammer grip. So pass. Nice job. So that being said, guys, check out the Rat 1. You can look for other links to videos, knife reviews, unboxings, and gear reviews on my channel. Please like, subscribe, and comment. And check out the Ontario Rat 1. And I'll see you guys outside. Thank you.